What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. The fragrance I'm going to talk about today is super popular. There's already a bunch of reviews on it, so I'm not really going to review the fragrance in particular. What I'm more going to do is talk about some events that led me up to actually buying the fragrance and some memories associated with the fragrance, because it was my signature night out fragrance for a good probably 6 to 8 months. So I'll be honest with you guys, I really wasn't always a cologne person or a fragrance person, whatever you want to call it. I had some like rack store cheapies and clearance stuff like that growing up as a teenager. I think most of us did, but I never really found something that captivated me where I didn't like spray it a couple times and then and I really don't like that much to always want to wear it. That I'm gonna go through a full bottle or put a big dent in a bottle. It never really happened like that. It was more cheapies I just got, sprayed a couple times, and then just kind of sat there on the shelf. As time went on, I got older, I started wanting to dress better, improve my style, improve my social confidence overall. I kind of went down the self-development rabbit hole. So really in the beginning, what I was trying to do was just improve my style, improve my social confidence overall, get my grooming more on point. And the thing to kind of put the icing on the cake was find some cologne that I could wear for nights out, going to bars, going to clubs, stuff like that. So at this point, this is a few years back. Mind you, I grew up in a pretty small town. There were no nightclubs, no big bars, really no night scene unless you drove over an hour away to the closest big city. And I never really got to experience that. And I moved to another area and I had access now to bars and clubs. And I really didn't know how to interact in those environments. I was pretty socially awkward, to be honest. Didn't know how to go out and make new friends in those type of environments, interact with girls. And that's kind of what drew me to go down self-improvement rabbit hole, is because I knew success in those areas were obviously possible. I could see people interacting with girls in the environments, and it just wasn't something I was familiar with how to do. I felt awkward trying to do it. I felt shy. I was like, what if I run out of things to say? I think the normal thing that people are just worried about, fear of rejection, not knowing what to say. So I come across this video that's kind of going over how to set yourself up for success on a night out. And it's basically going over all the basic stuff, make sure you're groomed properly, wear clothes that fit, dress nicely. And one of the other tips he said was,
also make sure you wear cologne and then you smell good. If you go out to a bar, 1 out of 3 guys are just gonna smell like shit. So they're already shooting themselves in the foot before they even approach.
If you've been to clubs, you know exactly what I mean. There's always that person who didn't shower, who's stinking up the club, and there's always somebody with some funky breath up in there. So if you've been out and about, you know exactly what I'm saying. I had already kind of went through my wardrobe, revamped the clothes I was gonna wear, got a bunch of new clothes, and kind of the icing on the cake was to get a new fragrance and find something I could wear. But to be honest, I didn't even know where to start. I think we kind of forget, as people who are really into fragrance collecting, watching fragrance content, consuming this on a regular basis, what it's like in the very beginning when you really just don't know. And if you grew up around fragrances, you grew up with your family members having fragrances, stuff like that, it may have just been natural to you. It's kind of just something that is in your family. So the first thing that made sense for me to do was go on eBay, try to find some samples, and I ended up ordering variety packs of samples. And it was just random designer scents, smelled them, didn't really like them. There was I want to say there was probably 10 to 15 samples I went through. So I ended up taking a similar approach as I did with the whole going out night game stuff that I was already doing. I searched on YouTube top fragrances. I don't remember exactly what I typed, but I was like night out fragrances, something like that. And I'm sure if you're watching this video, that opens up a whole nother rabbit hole of its own. So I started going down the fragrance rabbit hole then, watching fragrance reviews. And like I said, this is a few years ago. So I'm hearing a lot of fragrances that were hyped a few years ago, not necessarily super hyped now, but I kept hearing the same fragrances mentioned over and over. So I'm like, okay, these can't just be in all these videos and not be at least decent. There was probably 4 or 5 fragrances that I saw that showed up in a bunch of different videos that were just really repetitive. I kept seeing. So I was like, okay, at least a couple of these gotta be good. So let me get samples of these and let me see what we're working with here. So I go through the samples and I finally find something that smells good. And it was nothing like I'd ever smelled at this point. Mind you, I'm used to like the basic blue scents, cheap barbershop scents, just like the clearance rack store stuff. Really nothing that's outside the realm of that. So after going through those samples, I ended up finding what went on to be my signature going out fragrance for the next 6 to 8 months. And without further ado, it was Spice Bomb EDT. Nothing crazy, nothing special. Mind you, at the time, that was expensive for me to buy. Like, as someone who was used to rack store cheapy stuff like that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy some decent cologne. Little did I know the rabbit hole that would lead me down, because once I smelled something that was like a spicy cinnamon tobacco fragrance, I had never smelled any fragrance like that. That really changed my perspective on what was possible in like spraying cologne on your body. So obviously now with everything that I've smelled, it does smell pretty synthetic. It's not something that I wear on a regular basis. It's more something that I'll smell for the memories that go along with it, because it really reminds me of going out clubbing for the very first times, being super nervous to interact with people, learning social dynamics, learning cold approach, learning how to be successful with cold approach, and really just making changes for the better in my life. So now that I'm sitting here talking about it, it just kind of hit me. Spice Bomb EDT is kind of my desensitization fragrance to going out, interacting, night game, all that. So before, I never really took initiative and ventured out and did those type of things. So before I started pushing myself to do cold approach and whatnot, I was more of a person that stayed inside my comfort zone. I wouldn't go to like large gatherings. I wouldn't go out to bars and stuff like that. That was really the beginning of me pushing myself outside my comfort zone to make changes, to become more socially confident and just put myself in positions to grow as a person. Spice Bomb EDT really just reminds me of a time in my life where I was learning a lot. I was learning a lot about social dynamics, about male-female interdynamics, and it just brings back a lot of good memories about learning cold approach. And I also think for anybody who's just getting into fragrances, who wants a night out fragrance, who doesn't want to pay a bunch of money, get into niche fragrances, I think Spice Bomb EDT does an amazing job. I wore it even on warm nights. It's not like the extreme where it has that super sweet vanilla in it. So as long as you don't go crazy with the sprays, it actually does good even in a hot club. I got away with it, got me compliments, smelled great. And Spice Bomb is popular, don't get me wrong, but it's not one of those uber popular things like Sauvage, like YEDP, where every time you go to a big nightclub or something like that, you're gonna smell multiple people wearing it. I would smell Spice Bomb every once in a while, but it wasn't a consistent thing where you always smell it. So it is fairly unique. It's not niche level unique, but I think it's entry level unique. If there's a fragrance for you that's more important to you because of the memories that attach to it than the actual fragrance itself, drop a comment down below. Let me know what fragrance it is. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay smelling good. Have a good day. Peace.